real estate is fun when it's done right.
We have so many beautiful areas of the city.
Best part about us is that we're a lot of fun. So we're used to having typically a couple or two spouses that are choosing between a house, which means we have two clients that have a choice. And now what we're seeing a lot of is this evolution of maybe 4 people getting a say, or even 5. Crazy. We are talking about multi-generational living. So 2 households, or parents and the kids and then their grandkids are all purchasing a house together. And so there's a lot more people that have a lot of opinions.
When you're buying a house, it's hard enough to buy a house with just your spouse. Imagine now you've got 2, maybe 3 couples wanting to buy a house together. It's going to take a lot of pre-planning to get it right. The upside is you'll have a lot more capital to work with when you get a house, and more money, less problems, not necessarily. But then the other thing is there's a lot more people to consider and their comfort and what they require. So I think meeting together, hashing it out, maybe having your realtor involved as well, because they know what you're going to see, is a good idea. But really, the planning is crucial with multi-generational living.
Some of your options for doing a multi-generational household would be to buy a large house that you can actually remodel, and you can shift around the layout to support what you would need in that living space. Another option is trying to find vacant land somewhere, which can be either extremely costly on all sides, or the land that kind of is available is stuff that kind of nobody wants at this point because it's too difficult to build on. Your follow-up option is building some kind of dadu that already has an existing house and there's enough room. So you're building a detached accessory dwelling unit, and you have 2 separate living spaces that allow you to not live on top of each other, but in the same location. And then your kind of last option really at that point is going to be looking at something like multifamily. So you have a duplex that is kind of 2 apartments or 2 sort of attached homes, but they are separate and that you're just sharing a wall maybe. And that way you're living close quarters, but you're still having a separate area to live in. And that can often be, pretty tough to find in Seattle and the surrounding areas as well.
So once you figure out what it is you want, in terms of space or privacy or whatever the requirements are going to be for the families, what you're going to need to do is find out also which ones are going to be the most practical to find. So I think Ian alluded to some of this, but land is very tough in Seattle. It's scarce. Big companies are buying it in bulk, and they have a whole system around finding it before it hits the market. And the rule of thumb is, if the land hits the market, it's probably no good. So that's kind of I guess what you'd say the going mantra for land.
Yeah.
But the house idea actually is pretty good because there's a lot of old Seattle homes that are pretty large. Basement living is a way of life in Seattle. And if you have a lot over 6,000 square foot, you can even probably build a dadu. I say probably because there's a lot of little caveats, but probably is a good answer. A very typical question we get with multi-generational housing is, well, how do we finance this? And how do we take ownership?
Yeah.
And then I guess also, how does inheritance work at that point, right? So I'll start with the first. One of the greatest advantages of this scenario is that you have more money to work with, presumably.
Yeah, that's the goal, really.
Yeah. A lot of times the parents sell their house wherever they are, and they typically own it significantly. And then, whoever the second party, usually the kids, they sell whatever house they have, plus they're working with a lot of work years ahead of them, so the financing part of it becomes a little easier, whereas the parents alone may be on retirement, and therefore durable income's a little bit different. They have assets but not income. So those 2 factors make kind of one perfect scenario.
Yeah.
We have assets and income. So you can afford a lot more.
Yeah, you elevate the whole process, really.
But the one thing you do have to think about is, how much remodeling is going to be needed. and be realistic about what that's going to cost. One of our clients is spending $800,000 remodeling a house they bought for $1.7 million.
Yeah.
So there's some real costs involved with this kind of thing. However, they're able to do it because they combined assets and income. We've also had people start out in this process, frankly, doing multi-generational housing and decide to buy 2 houses.
Yeah.
If I was wanting to leave anybody watching this video with some takeaway points, it would be A, do your homework first, collaborate with those who are moving in with you, figure out what you need, figure out what requirements each person might have, and think long-term, obviously. And other than that, there's a lot of nuance, and I think we were able to glaze the top of this just to give you some ideas, but honestly, there's a lot to know. And, if you just give us a call, we can probably walk you through what specifically will work for you based on your family's criteria.
We're rock stars, and we're going to help you be a rock star.